For years, Meghan, Sussex and Prince Harry have been portrayed by the media as rebels, runaways, or even troublemakers for daring to speak openly about the harsher realities of life inside the British royal family. They were accused of exaggerating, of being ungrateful, of breaking an unspoken code of loyalty to the institution. Yet now, from within the extended royal circle itself, comes a familiar echo, a quiet, thoughtful voice confirming much of what the Sussexes have said all along. This voice belongs to Sophie Winkleman, a British actress married to Lord Frederick Windsor, the son of Prince Michael of Kent and Princess Michael of Kent. Winkleman, promoting her latest film Wild Cherry, spoke in a recent interview about her life within the periphery of the monarchy, her marriage, her children, and the dangers of social media. Yet even while discussing these seemingly unrelated topics, she inevitably turned her attention to the pressures, expectations, and psychological burdens of royal life. Her words, carefully chosen and diplomatically phrased, revealed the challenges faced by those living under relentless scrutiny, the same pressures Harry and Meghan highlighted when they spoke out. In her discussion of royal life, Sophie described the experience as intensely challenging, an existence defined by extreme public attention from birth and the impossibility of fully trusting anyone. She noted how every move is watched, every decision scrutinized, and every perceived misstep magnified. Without directly criticizing anyone, she offered a rare insight into a world few ever see from the inside. According to her, the so-called glamour of being a royal comes with a price: constant surveillance, a loss of privacy, and the ever-present fear of betrayal. It is a life where mistakes are never forgiven, and where truth is often overshadowed by rumour. What makes Sophie Winkleman's perspective especially significant is that she occupies a unique position. She is married into the royal family, yet she is not a career royal herself. She maintains her professional life as an actress, balancing creative independence with the expectations of the Windsor family. This position allows her a perspective that is both insider and outsider, intimate enough to understand the pressures of the monarchy, yet free enough to comment on them candidly without fear of severe backlash. In this way, Sophie serves as a bridge, a voice that reflects the reality Harry and Meghan experienced and spoke about at great personal risk. The striking similarity between Winkleman's observations and the Sussexes' revelations cannot be overstated. She spoke of life under the royal microscope as brutal, noting that it can be psychologically damaging and deeply isolating. For Meghan and Harry, this scrutiny was compounded by media intrusion, racial bias, and the lack of support within the institution. When the Sussexes spoke publicly about these challenges, they were met with skepticism, ridicule, and vitriol. Sophie's reflections, however, are received with sympathy and admiration, revealing a stark double standard in how society and the press respond, depending on who voices the truth. Sophie described a reality in which royals are forced to endure unasked-for fame, a spotlight that they did not choose but are nonetheless subjected to for their entire lives. This is a crucial point because it underscores the lack of agency in their lives. No member of the royal family elects to be famous. It is a status imposed on them from birth, and escaping it is near impossible. Meghan and Harry's decision to step back from royal duties was precisely about reclaiming agency over their lives. It was about choosing their mental health and family over protocol and public expectation. Sophie's words validate that choice, even if indirectly. Moreover, Winkleman touched on the constant mistrust and fear that accompanies royal life. She mentioned the difficulty of knowing whom to trust, the omnipresence of rumour and misinformation, and the emotional toll of living in an environment where privacy is virtually non-existent. These observations echo what Harry has repeatedly described. Growing up under the glare of public attention leaves little room for genuine connections or emotional security. Meghan's experience mirrored this in its intensity, from being subjected to relentless media attacks to encountering systemic biases that made even everyday interactions fraught with tension. It is remarkable that Winkleman's candidness about these challenges comes from someone still connected to the institution. Unlike Meghan and Harry, she has not faced the same level of public vilification. Yet even she acknowledges that life within the monarchy can be suffocating. Her words imply that the pressures Harry and Meghan spoke of are not exaggerated, but real, deeply embedded, and inescapable. The monarchy, as an institution, thrives on image, tradition, and control, often at the expense of personal freedom and emotional well-being. Sophie's reflections also highlight the intersection between public attention and personal identity. Even though she maintains her career and independence, she cannot entirely escape the shadow of royal association. Every interview, every appearance, carries the potential for her words to be interpreted as commentary on the family she married into. In this sense, her acknowledgement of the pressures faced by royals reinforces the narrative that Harry and Meghan were trying to communicate for years, that the institution imposes constraints that can be emotionally taxing, isolating, and sometimes harmful. When Meghan and Harry spoke of these pressures, the narrative surrounding them was often distorted. They were accused of exaggerating their struggles, of being ungrateful, or of creating conflict where none existed. Critics failed to recognize that speaking the truth about systemic pressures is not betrayal, it is courage. Sophie Winkleman's statements, while softer and less confrontational, align precisely with what the Sussexes experienced. Her words serve as an affirmation that their concerns were valid, justified, and grounded in the reality of royal life. Another layer of significance lies in the subtle, yet clear distinction Sophie makes between fame and choice. She emphasizes that royal exposure is imposed, relentless, and unavoidable. This lack of choice contrasts sharply with the lives of celebrities or public figures who actively seek attention. Meghan, as an actress and public figure before her royal life, understood this distinction intimately. Harry, though born into royalty, experienced the same pressures without consent. Sophie's acknowledgement of this unasked for fame mirrors the central grievance that led the Sussexes to step back, the desire to live a life that is not dictated entirely by the gaze of the public or the press. Sophie also touches upon the emotional strain that comes from such scrutiny. Living under constant observation breeds anxiety, suspicion, and the fear that even minor missteps will be amplified. This aligns closely with Meghan's experiences as an outsider within the royal family, compounded by public prejudice and relentless tabloid coverage. The Sussexes' choice to leave was a direct response to this oppressive environment, a decision rooted in self-preservation and a desire to protect their family from harm. It is also telling that Sophie's candidness emerged during the promotion of her film rather than a political or social commentary. Even when speaking about her career, she naturally addressed the realities of the family she married into, proving that royal association is inescapable. Her ability to balance her professional identity with her royal connection mirrors the Sussexes' own struggle to reconcile personal ambition and autonomy with family obligations. Yet, unlike Meghan and Harry, Sophie has managed to navigate this balance while remaining largely unscathed by public scrutiny. The wider implication of Winkleman's comments is a profound acknowledgement of what the monarchy demands of its members. The institution prioritizes tradition, protocol, and public perception over the individual needs and emotional well-being of its people. Sophie's observations, while diplomatic, reinforce the argument that Harry and Meghan's decision to step away was not an act of defiance or entitlement, but of necessity. Their choice to prioritize mental health, family, and personal freedom resonates even more strongly when echoed by someone still inside the system. In many ways, Sophie's words serve as a mirror to the public, reflecting the same struggles that Meghan and Harry have faced, but through the voice of someone who is still connected to the establishment. Her insights reveal the tension between duty and desire, between public expectation and private need, and between inherited obligation and individual freedom. For years, the Sussexes were vilified for acknowledging these tensions. Now, an insider's perspective lends them credibility, validating their experiences and underscoring the systemic nature of the pressures they faced. Furthermore, Sophie's reflections highlight the universality of these challenges within the royal family. While Meghan and Harry's experiences were intensified by media intrusion and cultural bias, Sophie's observations suggest that even the most privileged members of the monarchy are subject to emotional strain, social isolation, and relentless public scrutiny. This perspective reframes the conversation. It is not a matter of personal conflict or individual weakness, but of an institution structured around control, image, and expectation, often at the expense of human well-being. The confirmation of Harry and Meghan's concerns by someone within the Windsor orbit is a significant cultural moment. It forces a reconsideration of the narrative that has long surrounded their departure. Where once their voices were dismissed, Sophie Winkleman's careful acknowledgement offers an alternative lens through which to view their choices, one that emphasizes empathy, understanding, and recognition of the pressures inherent to royal life. Sophie's comments also illuminate the generational and systemic pressures that royals face. The expectation to conform, perform, and maintain a flawless public image is ingrained from childhood. For Harry, growing up in such an environment meant learning early that vulnerability could be weaponized and that love, loyalty, and friendship were often conditional. Meghan's challenges were compounded by the intersection of race, nationality, and public perception. Winkleman's acknowledgement of these dynamics, even subtly, underscores the universality of these pressures, while highlighting the unique hurdles faced by the Sussexes. In conclusion, Sophie Winkleman's reflections, though delivered with diplomacy and tact, reinforce a narrative that Meghan and Harry fought to make the world understand. Her acknowledgement of the psychological, social, and emotional toll of royal life validates the Sussexes' experiences and highlights the systemic pressures that continue to affect those born into or marrying into the monarchy. Sophie's unique position, both an insider and an independent professional, allows her to speak with credibility, offering a rare, empathetic perspective on a world often hidden behind protocol, tradition, and public spectacle. What was once dismissed as exaggeration or rebellion now appears prescient. What was labelled betrayal now reads as survival. And what was once misunderstood now gains clarity through the lens of someone intimately familiar with the same institution. Sophie Winkleman's observations may have been intended to offer personal reflection, yet they also serve as a quiet vindication for Meghan Sussex and Prince Harry, a confirmation that their struggles were real, their choices justified, and their voices necessary. Because as Sophie gently describes the relentless pressures, isolation, and scrutiny of life within the royal fold, she unknowingly echoes the very truths that Meghan and Harry risked everything to reveal. The circle of understanding, once closed and resistant, now widens to include voices within the family itself. Perhaps, through this acknowledgement, the broader public will finally grasp the courage it took for the Sussexes to step away, and the necessity of prioritizing humanity over image, truth over tradition, and family over fame. Sophie's words remind us that royal life, though often envied for its pageantry and privilege, carries profound emotional costs. For Meghan and Harry, stepping away was not a rejection of heritage, but a declaration of self-preservation. For Sophie, speaking candidly about these realities is a rare glimpse into a world that balances duty with personal identity. Together, their voices illuminate a truth long obscured by tradition and tabloid spectacle, that being born or married into royalty is a privilege shadowed by immense pressure, where freedom is rare and human vulnerability is a constant challenge. And now, with Sophie Winkleman's voice joining the conversation, the narrative shifts. What was once a story dominated by controversy and judgment now takes on a new dimension, one of empathy, understanding, and recognition. Meghan and Harry's foresight is validated, their struggles acknowledged, and the public given an insider's perspective on the reality of royal life. It is a confirmation that, despite the glamour, despite the crowns and titles, the human cost of such fame is real, and that their choice to prioritize well-being and family over duty was not only understandable but necessary.